Hi everyone, right, there seems to be a lot of discussion about swords and sitting down with swords. If you're unaware at the moment, the ninja community is rife with, is it correct or incorrect to sit down with a katana in feudal times? So I'm going to talk about that in this video. So remember this question throughout. Can you have your sword in your obi when you sit down? Before we go on with the video, I just want to say I actually don't have the answer to this. The idea is we're going to explore the myths. Now the problem we have is that most people just jump to what they think is correct. But actually, when you do historical research, you have to actually research what is correct, not just jump to the conclusion. So let's discuss it from a few angles. Now, first of all, questions crop up like, first of all, is it sitting down inside the house or sitting down outside the house? Which one is it? The second one is, what do we mean by sitting down? We don't mean cross-legged, of course. I've never seen anyone sat cross-legged with a sword, I'm not sure. But the thing at the minute is kneeling down, i.e. kneeling down with your heels tucked below your bottom and your sword inside your obi and generally talking. But I've seen it done different ways where you already have one knee up. So that means with one heel under your bottom and the second or one of your knees up in a sort of ready position, if you will, with your sword still there. We've still got that to think about. So what do we mean by sitting? And thirdly, does time change? Does it change with time? We don't know. So let's try the investigation. Now, the general theme is that when a samurai goes into a house, he takes off his katana, he retains his wakizashi, and he places the katana in a specific place, depending on the house. Now, or he can have it next to him, i.e. you take it out and you put it down on the mat next to you, and you never sit with it at your side. However, what we've found is that in a lot of old schools or Koryu, there seems to be drawing a blade from a sitting position. Now, in Iaido, which definitely goes into samurai times, in Iai, without doubt they draw from a sitting position. So the question raises, why do they draw from a sitting position if you are not allowed to sit with your sword? It doesn't make sense. Why do these exist? Now, I've got my list here underneath me, guys, you'll have to excuse me. So, I was talking to a guy called Graham Healy recently, and he does swordsmanship and he deals with a lot of the swords. And he was saying that in when they did the standardized versions of Iaido in Japan, which is like the 20th century thing, they took out the sitting position kata. They took out the moves where you sit down with a katana and you draw it out. Now, if they took it out because it was impractical, apparently, because they didn't sit down anymore like that with swords. So did they used to sit down? So that's a question we have to answer. Now, I've spoke to Mike Graham, who will probably be watching this video, Mike, and he says you definitely don't have your sword at your side, and he was telling me something about it coming from the criminal society. Now, I keep trying to get Mike onto a podcast, but he's a bit busy at the minute, so eventually we'll try and get Mike onto the podcast. And I want to, when I've met Mike, I've never had time to go through these things because we've been doing events together. I have plenty of time to chat to him, but the question is Mike's under the impression that you don't draw a sword from a sitting position. But I'm not going to speak in Mike's place, you know, I'm just bringing that up, so Mike will probably get on this and start discussing. Also, Mr. James Williams, who deals with a lot of the samurai stuff, I've seen him say you do not put your sword in a seated position. And again, I've tried to get Mr. Williams, James Williams, on the podcast with me and Ben, but we can't nail him down to a date yet. But I've got all these questions for him because I'm genuinely interested in which way is it. Now, which side of the line do I fall on? It's strange because I've seen in Katori Shintoryu, I've seen them draw from a kneeling position with one leg up. I've seen old schools do it. I've seen it taken out of old schools, so with this. I've seen Sekiguchi Ryu do it. I've seen general videos around of different schools. To be honest, I can't remember the names of them all. They have drawn from a sitting position. I've seen many sort of like Koryu in Japan who draw from a sitting position. So the question boils down to this. The question boils down to this is, who is correct? We've got a lot of people over here saying you never sit down with a sword, but you've got Japanese respected swordsmen who sit down with swords in their obi, and they do Iaido katas from the ground, from a sitting position. So which is correct? Now, if you want to know, I don't have the answer to this, and I say Mike was bringing in bits about there's being criminal activity, or this was coming from criminal ideas, or maybe it was an outside. I just simply don't know. But my take on the matter is, I personally believe it is incorrect to sit down with your sword in your belt. I don't believe that is correct. In all the literature I've ever read, and all what I mean by that is primary evidence, and all the primary evidence I've ever read, translated by Yoshi and the crew, the sword comes out, and when you go into a house, it gets put in a certain position, and a whackers actually remains in your obi. That's true. But I've never seen any that talk about, drawing from the belt yet. So I'm actually on the side of my enemy, if you know what I mean, the bullshit ninjutsu crew and all that lot. And I'm quite with that. I agree. I don't think you should put your sword in your obi, and I agree with James. I agree with Mike. But the question still rings, is why is it in the kata? Why is it done in the different schools? My only theory, it's not even a theory because I don't have data to back it up, my only idea would be the fact that probably that it may be changed over time. Was it acceptable later on in samurai period to sit with your sword? That's how it entered into, these Iaido katas. I don't know. But remember, if you two can be right, maybe in the early days they didn't do it, maybe in later days they did do it. Please don't take these as answers. Again, I don't know the answer. But the point being is that we have a very, very distinctive issue here that we cannot actually say yes or no on. Because on one hand, you've got the old scrolls I've translated, which never say keep your sword in your obi. It always says, take it out, put it away, and I agree with that. But on the other hand, you've got these Japanese swordsmen doing it. They flash out their swords in an instant from a sitting position, and they cut the enemy. So why did they do that if samurai were not allowed to wear it? So, that's the boiled down key. So please leave your comments below, and let's discuss it. Let's try and get to the bottom of this. But remember, we need evidence and proof. And it may be the case that both are actually correct, and it's a case of chronology and time. For my guys, the historical lot and the Natoryu lot, I want you to remember something. Remember we talked about the concept of Honmatsu, and Alexander Petty, not that he's one of my lot, I want him to listen to this more than anything. Remember guys, things like should you or should you not sit down with a sword is very matsu. We have Honmatsu, the center and the periphery. When you study samurai, remember Alexander, all of it is important. Learning Japanese, tying the knot correctly, the principles of war, astrology, it's all important. There's no bits where you say, no, let's not do it. Some of it's boring, some of it's not, it's all important. But the key is what's fundamental in the principle. In my opinion, and it is only my opinion, if you're going to study samurai ways, you've got to study warfare above everything. I'm not saying you should study it first or last, I'm saying you should give it priority. And things like this, like tying your knot, or do you sit down with sword, do you not sit down with sword, you don't need to get up in arms about. It's simply just a matsu thing, it's a periphery thing, it's on the edge. Important, but put it in its correct place. So that's what I've got to say, guys. That's all I've got to say. So I hope you enjoyed this. And a very, very quick roundup is who is correct? The Japanese, or the sort of people going on that you don't, and I'm one of them, I'm saying you don't do it, but I don't know the answer. So let's dig for the answer together, guys, and let's get in there, and I'm looking forward to all your comments. Mr. James Williams, of course, get in touch, and Mike Graham, if you want on the podcast, make sure you get in touch. If you've got backed up theory of this, guys, please back it up, and please don't give us all like some author in the West says, I want proper Japanese sources. Translated, that's fine, but real primary sources. Alright, my name's Anthony Cummins, and I'll see you guys soon.